All right, so welcome to Wellness Wednesday. For those of you who I have not met, I'm Lindsay Wolford, and I'm the employee wellness dietitian here at MD Anderson. So I work for HR Wellness and Recognition, and my job is to serve as the dietitian or nutritionist for all the employees. So if you ever have a question, need to schedule a consult, want department presentations, or just need to email and ask a simple question, please reach out to me. So thank you guys for coming today. I hope everybody's having a great summer despite the heat and the rain and the flooding and everything else that we've had to deal with so far. But we'll get started. So today we're kind of kicking it off with a bang. Weight loss, right? Is this always a topic or what?
Yes.
Always a topic. We go to the grocery stores, we see it on the covers of magazines, we see it on the talk shows, we hear about it on social media from friends. It kind of seems to be something that a lot of people are always working on, right? It's kind of a journey, so to speak. It's not something that you do once and you're done. So there's a lot of diets out there and things, and the vast majority of people who come to see me are coming for weight loss or to try to, eat healthy to prevent gaining weight, things surrounding weight. We also know that weight is associated with so many chronic diseases nowadays, particularly cancer, right? We know that working here at MD Anderson. So when I started thinking about different topics and stuff to do for Wellness Wednesday in the upcoming year, this was something I thought, some of these things are things people may have heard before, but some of these things are kind of the truths about weight loss that we don't always think of or consider before we start any kind of weight loss or weight management regimen. And I feel like some of these are really helpful and important to kind of know ahead of time before you jump into any kind of diet or plan that you're considering. That being said, I'm not a big proponent of diets, so more of a lifestyle change, but we'll get into some of that. So we're going to talk about some essentials for success. So when we're talking about weight loss, everybody wants to make positive changes, right? That's kind of the thing that triggers people. I want to make a positive change. I know what I have been doing is either not improving my health or I've been maintaining my weight or gaining weight, right? So you got to want to make some change initially. You start examining things and looking at, well, what could I do? What diets? Maybe I should do high protein. I need to cut out sugars. That whole line of thought. Can you guys relate to that?
Yes.
Okay. And what happens after that? We set big goals, right? You're like, I'm losing 50 pounds. Okay? What I call that is the umbrella goal, right? That's the big picture. But a lot of times we forget about all the little small things that it takes to actually make that happen. You can't just say, I'm losing 50 pounds and I'm going to stop eating this and have it happen. Because food, as we all know, is so complicated. Yes? We use it not only for nourishment of our body, right? It's important nutritionally to keep us alive and sustain our health and our well-being. But food is a lot of other things in our life. It is, and we have a lot of emotional connections to food, right? A lot of social connections to food. Who loves that it's the weekend and you're meeting friends for dinner on Friday night, right? Or you're having family over, okay? Or you have extra time in your schedule, so you want to cook some new fun recipe that you found, okay? A lot of social things. Or some people like to have friends over and cook for them, all that kind of stuff. There's also kind of more of a scientific side of food, which is sometimes our bodies crave certain things. Okay, the hormones that we may be experiencing, the levels at those certain times cause us to crave certain things. Or we feel stressed. What do we go for?
Sweet.
Crunchy.
Okay.
Exactly. So that's a factor too. I mean, never did anyone say, I'm so stressed, I really need a kale salad, right? That's not ever happened. So we know that it's not just as simple as I'm cutting out this and I'm losing 50 pounds, done. Okay? So we need kind of a solid game plan. And I'm hoping that today, as we go through some of these essentials for successful weight loss, it will kind of help guide you to think about some other factors that maybe you haven't considered in the past. Okay? But more than anything, what we're trying to do is get you to be realistic. Okay? Because when we set those big umbrella goals, that is a super goal, right? It is definitely something to strive for. Just like if you were to say, I want to run a marathon, that is a great goal. Nobody's ever going to say, well, you may have some friends that say you're crazy. But, I mean, it's a wonderful goal, right? But you can't just say you're going to do that. There's lots of smaller little things, little goals that you have to meet along the way. And there's lots of things that we got to get realistic about. Like if you're going to train, you're going to have to put in the time. Those kind of things, right? And weight loss is the same way. Okay, so let's look at some of these essentials. So the first thing, and this is so critical, is to get your head straight. What do you guys think I mean by that? Like go see a doctor, a shrink, make sure you've got it all.
Be committed.
Yeah, the mindset.
Your mindset, that's right. So a couple things to consider is you really have to embrace the fact that weight loss is a journey. This is what, if you don't, what happens is you get into that whole yo-yo dieting. And I know you guys have heard me say this before probably, but when you restrict, as most diets cause us to do, the pendulum goes to one side, right? What happens at some point? Goes back the other way, okay? So it's not just, I'm going to lose 50 pounds, 6 months or 2 months or whatever it is, and I'm done. You really have to want to change your lifestyle, okay? You're going to lose weight on any diet that you try. You bring me any diet, I promise you I can show you where the calorie restriction is and how it's going to cause you to lose weight. Any diet, okay? The question is whether or not you can sustain it. And that's what's going to provide you with not only lasting results, but it's also going to allow you to maintain weight, okay? And be successful without the swinging back and forth, right? The whole yo-yo dieting or the restricting and then falling off the wagon, restricting, falling off the wagon, okay? You've got to prepare for that. So that means maybe lowering your expectations that in the first 3 months, you may not lose exactly the amount that you intend, right? And I think one thing that complicates this a lot for a lot of people is there are a lot of those diets out there where you lose 10 pounds in a week, right? Who doesn't love that? You're like, that was easy. Now I can go back to eating how I want, except that I can't if I want to keep that weight off. But the other thing too is that that's not true weight loss. When we lose weight that quickly, you are not burning fat. Okay, that is not fat coming off the body, it's water, okay? And I can explain to y'all how that works if you're interested. Is anyone interested or you like to move along? Okay. So, we have in our bodies what's called glycogen. Have you guys heard of that before? It's the stored form of glucose. Okay, so it's how our body stores sugar in our muscle cells as well as in our liver. And it's a backup safety mechanism so that if we're ever starving to death, okay, if you're ever like on some, hiking the Appalachian Trail and you lose all your food and supplies and you're starving, okay, at least for several days your body can sustain you with those stores, okay? So it releases the glucose from storage and allows your body to function, okay? Protect your brain so your brain can operate. It's glucose dependent. So for every sugar molecule, okay, this is sugar, there are 2 molecules of, this is your chemistry lesson for the day, water stored with it, okay? So if this is released from your cells, because you're burning it, because you're hungry, because you're on a high protein diet, what do you think gets released as well? That's your 10 pounds or whatever, okay? So it's not fat. So what happens is we do that, and then we go back to eating because we feel like, wow, I've already lost 10 pounds. So you go back to eating how you normally would, and you gain it back. Not necessarily all fat. It's part of that weight gain, regain, is water, okay? But you've got to understand that to have true weight loss, which is going to be burning body fat, that is not going to happen in a couple of weeks, okay? The most that we can really truly lose per week safely and have it actually be fat burning is somewhere between about 1 to 2 pounds, okay? So we got to get our head around that, right? That I'm not a failure. This is how it happens, okay? And you got to be in it for the long haul, not for just a month or two. Questions on that? Does that make sense? I know it's such a bummer to hear. It is. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Not bad, but it's not bad. It's just how our bodies are made, right? Just like anything else. It's just how our bodies are made. Okay. So the next thing is I want you to also, as you are looking at your life, start thinking beyond what you eat and the diet you're going to follow. Because there's, as we said in the beginning, there's so many different factors that impact our weight. Okay? Some of them to consider are these. Things like sleep. We know exercise, right? We hear about that a lot. Stress and the food environment. Okay? So let's dive into these a little bit. Sleep, when you look at the research, sleep, food, and exercise are all very tightly linked together, okay? You mess up one or change up one, you're going to impact the others, okay? So let's say, for example, you have had a really busy time at work, okay? What's going up? Stress level, right? Do you sleep as well at night? Sometimes you crash out, right? But generally, most people that I know, sleep's a little bit harder, either falling asleep because your mind's going or staying asleep, right? So let's say you've had stress at work, trouble sleeping, you get up the next day. Are you ready to go exercise? Do you feel like making healthy choices? No. That's right. We generally tend to go for comfort foods. And part of that is when stress levels are high, your body releases cortisol, which is a stress hormone, especially under chronic stress when it's a little bit longer term, okay? One of the things that reduces cortisol levels are higher fat and higher sugar foods. Thus, the comfort foods, right? They really do reduce stress for a very brief period, but that's why we crave those. So you can see how if you're not taking care of other areas, you're setting yourself up for a very challenging time to lose weight. Y'all with me? Okay. What about food environment? What do you think that means?
People bring in sweets to work.
That's definitely one in food environment. We have lots of food environments. Work is one of them. Home is another, your home food environment. Other places you might be, church, friends' houses, wherever you're at, it's what the food options are and situation is in those areas, okay? Now, we can't control all of them, right? For example, the larger food environment in Houston, we have quite a rich food environment here, right? I think we have more restaurants per capita than any other city in the United States. So we have a very robust food environment, okay? We can't control that. But what can we control? What are some of the areas that we can control a little bit better? Anybody? Our choices, like at home, right? Most of us have at least some control over our home food environment. Now, you may have a spouse that's coming home every day with Whataburger and sabotaging all your good efforts, but you can elicit some control, correct? Yeah? What about at the office?
Make your lunch.
Making your lunch, bringing in your own snacks so that you've got healthy options at your fingertips and don't have to come down to Fresh Brew, where nothing's fresh, and some of the other places, right? Now, we can't control coworkers, but it could also be a thing where we've discussed in other classes, trying to partner, trying to get on board as a team, your work team, if everyone has some common wellness goals. Somebody wants to be brave and say, hey, we all have these goals to try to eat healthier. Why do you keep bringing in chocolates? Let's switch that out, that kind of thing. So trying to really take an assessment before you get started of what is the environment that I'm in, and where are the areas that I can make a change to support my goals. Is that possible? Anybody have an area that's really challenging where you're like, I just don't know how to improve this? Because in most situations, we may not be able to make it perfect, but we're not looking for perfect. We're looking for progress. We can do a little tweak, right? Anybody?
One very difficult environment is family gatherings.
Oh yeah, I hear that all the time.
It's no way to, how do you tweak that?
Yeah.
And you're used to everybody, oh, she's bringing her mac and cheese, we gotta have her mac and cheese, oh, so-and-so's bringing, these certain foods that everybody,
Right.
and it's like,
Well, and that's kind of a special situation that I think is the food environment, but it's also the social aspect of it all,
Stress
right?
environment.
What's that?
The stress environment.
The stress environment, you mean as a...
I think family gatherings can be very stressful.
Yeah, for a lot of people, for sure. So I think you can look at that in a couple ways. One is you bring something that's healthy, if you can do that, or eat a little something healthy before you go, and then allow yourself to eat some of the smaller portions of the things you like. But I also feel like there's something to be said for kind of balancing. And if you know you're going to Thanksgiving and everybody's bringing lots of stuff and there's pressure to eat, maybe that's just one of those times that you're going to write off. Okay? You have to also kind of decide what are your non-negotiables. And if some of those family gatherings, you really enjoy them, we don't want you to be miserable. That's giving up an important part of your life, right? We would never tell anybody, you can never eat these certain foods again that you've grown up eating your whole life because they're unhealthy, right? If it's something you really enjoy, allow yourself to have it. Just watch the portion size, and then the rest of the time, kind of that 80-20 rule, you're eating healthy. Does that make sense? Yeah. But those are tough environments, especially I hear from a lot of people, there's, to a lot of people and families, feeding other people is a way they show love. And so if you don't accept their macaroni and cheese, they're highly offended, right? And it's a little bit more of an emotional toll than just food. So yeah, there are some sticky situations, and you may not be able to change all of them. But the ones that you can change, or the ones, even if you tweak it a little bit, we can see some improvement, okay? So evaluate all these different areas. You start a new diet and you're getting terrible sleep, it's going to be really hard to be successful, okay? You start a new weight loss program and your stress level is through the roof and you're not doing anything to manage stress or cope with it, it's going to be hard to be successful, okay? So we can't just isolate food because it pervades into so many aspects of our life. You really do have to look at lots of different areas, make sure we got those kind of aligned before we can move forward. Questions, or anyone else have comments, thoughts? Y'all are looking like a very sad group. Is this bad news today? It's Wednesday, we're almost to Friday. Okay, skip the quick fixes. The goal really should be, if you want to solve the weight problems, we've got to create lifelong healthy habits, okay? We've already talked about that pendulum just swinging back and forth. You can spend your whole life doing this, right? Okay, so if we want to be healthy throughout our life, if we want to lose weight, then we've got to create habits that we can do our whole life. So avoid anything that's unsustainable. People come up to me all the time, hey, I heard about this new diet, I'm thinking of doing it, what do you think? What is my first question? Y'all should know this, those of you who come to class frequently, because I say it all the time. What's the first question I would ask?
Is it sustainable?
Right. Is it something you can do now and for the next 40 or 50 years? And most of them will go, oh no, I'm just doing this for like a couple months. I go, then that's a diet. I wouldn't do it, right? Because as soon as you stop, what do you go back to? Your usual habits. You haven't changed any of your habits, okay? So, choose what you can sustain. Choose habits, choose a lifestyle, okay? We also want to start really small and master habits. Remember that big, woo, growing things. Remember the big umbrella goal of 50 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever it is? We can't just take off towards that. You have to master some small little goals and steps along the way. And that's really the meat or the basis for changing behaviors, right? Is we're changing our habits. And has anyone ever done it where you're trying to overhaul everything at once? And what happens? It's like Tuesday and you're like, I'm so tired, this is too much. I can't keep it all straight, you know, you're trying to sleep better, manage your stress, add in, you know, an hour exercise every day, you go to the grocery store, meal prepping, planning. I mean, that's more than a full-time job just trying to be healthy, especially if it's something that you're not used to doing. Okay, so start really small. Don't all overhaul everything at once. Look at the things that might be most challenging for you. Okay, some people, they want to start first with what's most challenging and only focus on that. Okay, other people want to wait till the end and, you know, master a few other things, kind of build their confidence, feel like they can do it and be successful before they do the hard things. Just one or two things at a time. Okay? Questions on that? Okay. If you're having trouble, this is one thing that I can help with. If you come for individual consultations, a lot of people will come in for an individual consultation and they think they're leaving with a one-stop shop, like the full plan, like this is how to change your whole life and lose whatever weight you're trying to lose. But what I actually do is sit down and we try to find out everything that's going on in your life, all your challenges and barriers, the things that you just are non-negotiable about, and we try to say what small changes can we make given the standards or the boundaries that you have, okay? And we start really small and we just work on a couple things until those are mastered, and then we up the ante a little bit, okay? And that's really how it's done because you can't change it all at once. So start small. This is a great strategy because I think a lot of people don't think about this when they're talking about weight loss, okay? Somebody say, what's a diet? Somebody pick a diet.
Keto, yeah.
Keto diet. Okay, so that's a total overhaul. That's the hot diet right now, right?
Yeah.
So you take everything out of your diet and you only add a lot of fat, right? Okay. Again, not very sustainable. Probably not doing it for the rest of your life. Okay. But what about if we keep everything the same? So rather than our first thought being, oh, I've got to stop eating so much sugar, I've got to stop eating this, I've got to stop eating that, rather than the first step being to remove all that bad stuff from your diet, because what happens when it's all gone? What's that? Exactly. The second I say do not eat chocolate, what do you think about all day long? Chocolate. Right, or you put it off, right? One more day and then I'll do it. One more day and then I'll do it. Okay? So rather than getting rid of all the bad stuff, what if we keep it all the same and we just add in more of the good stuff? Think about that for a second. What do you think would happen?
Pushes out some of the other stuff.
There you go. Right? So rather than having to change your mind and wrap your head around, I can never eat all these things again, you're just adding in more of the good stuff. And eventually, there's not quite as much space for some of that bad stuff. So then you don't feel like it's gone, right? It doesn't feel like it's so restricted. It doesn't feel like, you know, an invisible Lindsay is smacking your hand every time you reach for whatever, okay? It feels like you've made a positive choice and nobody's telling you you're doing something wrong. What do y'all think about that?
Can you make it like really plain, like to give a scenario of what you're talking about?
Sure. So let's say there's somebody who eats quite a bit of fast food. Let's say, you know, you stop by McDonald's for breakfast, you grab something at Chick-fil-A here, and then you grab something on the way home, okay? What if all that stayed the same, but you just decided to make a different choice, you know, for one meal, okay? So let's say you decide, okay, well, instead of Chick-fil-A, then I'll do a salad, okay? You've already improved your diet just with that one small thing. But we didn't say you have to get rid of all your we have to get rid of all fast food. So you're adding positive things, so now we've squeezed out one bad thing, okay? We get in such the mindset that if we don't do it all right, 100%, like if it's not perfect, then it's not worth doing. All or nothing, okay? And that's why I tell people all the time, we're looking for progress, not perfection. Because when you play that whole perfection game, it never works. I mean, does anybody ever do anything perfectly? I mean, we are all good employees, right? But I mean, I still screw up regularly on stuff. That's just part of the game. We're human. It's the same thing with weight loss or any kind of health behavior kind of change, all right? So when we try to do blue sky, big umbrella goal, 50 pounds, I'm getting rid of all the junk, I'm going to eat perfect. You mess up like 2 hours into it, and all of a sudden you're like, I can't do this, I'm a failure, I'm terrible, I'm eating donuts the rest of the day. That's it. Okay? That's not what we want to do. Okay? So does that make a little bit better sense? Or it may even be one meal. You know, it may be, let's say for breakfast you normally eat 2 fried eggs and bacon and sausage and a big glass of chocolate milk, and you guys are looking at me like, I would never eat that. And let's say you decide to change to low-fat milk. Okay, now I'm not saying the rest of that breakfast doesn't need a little work, but now we've squeezed out a lot of sugar and added fat that's in that one thing. Okay, and it's a first step, but you know what? You do that for a week or two, and all of a sudden, lower fat milk is okay. You've acclimated, you can do it. So now it's time to look for something else. What do y'all think about that idea? Thoughts? Possible? Seems a little more doable, I think. I think that's part of the reason people look for these quick fixes is because, you know what, we can lose weight really quick. I only have to do it for a short period of time, and that's less intimidating. That seems more achievable. So this is another way to maybe have things be more achievable. Freudian slip. So squeeze out the not so healthy, okay? Portions. Portions are really, really important. We like to think that, you know, it's all about what we eat, but how much we eat is something we cannot ignore, okay? Now granted, if you ate your body weight in broccoli every day, you would probably lose some weight, but who's going to do that, right? We eat normal foods, and we want to. They're part of our life, our culture, our social interactions, all those kind of things. So I'm not one of those people that says there's good foods and there's bad foods. There's just food. There's certain foods we should choose more often than others if we want to be healthy, right? But there's not a food that should be completely off limits. I could probably think of one or two, but so how much you eat is really going to be essential for weight loss, okay? So we need to learn proper portion sizes, and if anybody's unsure of those, I'm happy to send you a really fun handout on that. But learn those, and then figure out what your normal portion size is, and do a little comparison, okay? People are always shocked when I say a serving of rice is half a cup. And I'm not talking half of the cup that you happen to be using at that time. It's a true half of a measuring cup, 4 ounces, okay? So, I mean, it's basically like I could hold a half a cup in the palm of my hand. Who ever eats that much rice? Does anybody ever do that? You do? Oh, she's good. Anybody else? You do? Good for you guys. Or at least you're aware of it. So you know if you're eating more than that, it's 2 servings or whatever. Most people, or pasta's the same way. Okay? Half a cup of cooked pasta is a serving. You can't go to a restaurant in Houston that is going to give you that little. Okay? So learn what a normal portion size is. Okay? Compare it to what you've been doing. We're not going to say you can never eat pasta or rice, right? We're going to say reduce your portion and enjoy it. Okay? So portion sizes do make a huge difference. This one is really important, and I work a lot with my clients on this because weight loss is impacted by so many different factors, as we've discussed. It's also very different for each individual. So what works for one person will not work or not work in the same way for another person because our bodies are different, our hormones are different, our makeup is different, okay? So one thing that I would really encourage people to do is to not focus just on the number on the scale, which especially women, not to leave you out guys, but women are so focused on that number on the scale. Are we not? But that doesn't even tell you the whole story, okay? Because there can be people who, weight-wise, fall within the healthy range for their height, but their bodies could have a very high percentage of body fat, okay? But you wouldn't know that just from looking at the number on the scale, right? By the same token, J.J. Watt, he'd be considered obese if we did his BMI, okay? Because he has so much weight for his height, but it's all muscle, or the vast majority, okay? So the number on the scale does not tell the whole story. The other thing too, let's say you start to lose weight, you're burning fat, you're exercising, so you're building muscle. What weighs more? Muscle, that's right. So you may not see that number on the scale shift considerably at first, okay? So you may lose 2 pounds of fat, you may gain 3 pounds of muscle, and you're going, oh my gosh, I'm on this diet and I've gained I've gained a pound, okay? That number does not tell the whole story. So what you really need to look for are some other signals or measures of success. The other thing is you'll get into beating yourself up constantly as things fluctuate, okay? I know a lot of people who they weigh each other, or not each other, they weigh themselves all the time. So they're weighing in the morning, they're weighing at lunch, they're weighing in the evening. Our weight fluctuates during the day. You are the lightest you are going to be when you first wake up in the morning, okay? Why is that? You're going to gain weight by the end of the day, even if you're losing weight overall. Why is that?
You haven't eaten.
You haven't eaten, you haven't consumed liquids, right? When you use the bathroom makes a difference, all those kind of things. If you exercise and sweat, you're losing water loss. I mean, it's not uncommon for runners after a long run to lose several pounds. That's not fat that they're burning, that's water loss. And as soon as they drink and eat, it's not uncommon for them to gain and be more than they were before the run. Okay? So you have to understand these normal fluctuations and that the number on the scale is not the end-all be-all. Okay? For some people too, it may take you longer to lose weight. So let's not beat ourselves up because it's not going fast enough. We've got to find other measures of success. Okay? This is going to keep you going. It's going to keep you motivated. I had one client who she was really struggling to get the number to go down real fast, okay? But we set some other measures for success, things like a more stable blood sugar, okay? Things like she's able to fit into clothes that she couldn't fit in for a while. She's started exercising and her knees feel better and she goes out dancing now on Friday nights, which she hasn't done in years, okay? These are things, it's not just about the weight, okay? It's about, are you feeling good? Are you feeling better? Do you have more energy? Whatever things that you feel like are important to you and you want to see improve, those can be other measures of success or other goals. Y'all got it? Y'all got some good ones? You have some ideas of things you could use?
For me, every time I would get on the scale, it wouldn't tell me anything. And I would go to the doctor and she used to stop looking at the scales. It's not about the scale. But what I didn't realize, I was losing a lot of inches. So I went down like 4 sizes and I didn't even know it until
That's
I
awesome.
actually went shopping. I'm like, oh, I'm getting a 14. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Because my scale don't always move. But I could see it in my clothes, what I'm wearing and everything.
Right, that's a perfect example. Exactly, yeah. So how your clothes fit, all those kind of things. We get so caught up in the scale though, it's damaging to the process, right? Because you feel very defeated when you feel like you've been eating rabbit food all week and then that number hasn't moved. That's the worst feeling, Okay, so you got to look at some other measures for success. Okay, and then keep moving forward. Okay, as we said, we're not perfect. We are not looking for perfection. Okay, we've got to keep moving forward. So when you have slip-ups, or when you have those times where like, you know, my family's getting together, grandma's going to be upset if I don't eat the macaroni and cheese, those kind of things, don't let those little moments completely sideline you from your goals, okay? Take a step back in those situations, okay, and look and see what may have happened. Let's look for some other ways to handle certain situations the next time around, okay, rather than just completely giving up, because we're trying to progress. We're not trying to land in some perfect place, because what's right and ideal for one person is different for somebody else. And what's right and ideal for you may change throughout your lifetime. It's not going to always, we don't reach a certain place and then we're done. Okay? It's a lifestyle. It's an ongoing thing. So thinking about how you might handle things differently in situations that are challenging, where you know you kind of got off track that time. Okay? Things like, I intended not to go into work, but then I saw the donuts in the break room or the whatever candy on such and such's desk, and I wasn't able to resist. Okay? What's the plan for next time? I'm going to take the other way around. I'm not even going by that break room. That group always sets stuff out, right? Of course, they all do, right? So you might find something better in the other break room, the other direction.
Plus you get extra steps.
Extra steps. There you go. Extra steps. Exactly. So, as far as success too, this is something else I work with people a lot on when we talk about setting other measures for success. I started noticing with a lot of my clients, they come in and I think they think I'm the food police or something, and they feel like, or maybe like the food confessional. Like they come in and they want to tell me all the things that they've done wrong and all the ways they've messed up and how that number on the scale is probably going to be up. And I'll say, wait a minute, let's start over. Let's talk about all the things that you did right, okay? So when you do mess up, which those times will come, rather than beating yourself up, focus on some of the things that you've done right, okay? Because they will be there. And don't just beat yourself up because of the one time, you know, you gave in to the donut or the whatever, okay? Focus on those positive things. That will also help you to kind of move on and keep going forward, okay? Don't punish yourself, forgive yourself, and don't give up. Keep your eyes on the prize, keep moving forward, okay? So that's it. I hope this kind of provided you guys with some different thoughts when you're looking at weight loss. It's kind of a different class, not your typical, you need 50% carbohydrate, you know, so on and so forth. We're not talking about macros. We're not talking about what foods are healthy, what foods are not. We're talking about some of the kind of essentials or foundational things that you really have to put into place before you can successfully lose weight, no matter what your plan or strategy for that may be. Okay, do you guys have any questions? Was this helpful?
Yeah. One little tip that I've learned is, as difficult as it is, journal what you're eating.
Absolutely. Yeah,
because
that is a good
then
tip.
when you do meet for a consultation, you can actually pull it out and say, okay, I see, here was a trigger, here was a...
Yeah. No, absolutely. And
journal maybe the situation as well, especially if it wasn't such a great choice.
right, writing down. That's really good if you're kind of an emotional eater or stress eater or something like that. Yeah, to write what you're feeling just before you ate, that kind of thing. But yes, journaling or keeping a food log is always helpful for a lot of reasons. It's one of the tools that I use most with clients, because you gain so much self-awareness of what you eat and when you eat and how many calories or things like that are in things. People always come in and go, I had no idea that had that many calories, you know? So you're probably not going to stop eating it, but you'll probably eat a little less, or you'll change the way your calorie budget, so to speak, is spent if you know you're going to eat that certain food, right? So it does. It brings a lot of awareness and accountability. So it is an excellent tool. And then it's not something you have to do forever. A lot of times people will do it for a while so they gain that awareness of, You know, let's say you're supposed to eat 1,500 calories. This is what 1,500 calories looks like. You kind of train yourself, okay? Once you got it, you stop journaling, you're off on your own, you start struggling a little bit, you go back to recording it and get yourself back in line. So it is a super duper tool. Anybody else? Tips? Other comments?
So is it good to, I know it's not good to diet per se, but it is good to set a certain calorie amount?
It
Per
can
day
be for
or-
some people.
Okay, because,
Yeah, it really depends on the individual. Some people, they kind of more of just general guidelines, kind of like these are some rules of play. You know, choose this, choose that, have your plate veggies, those kind of things. And by implementing those, you're naturally going to fall into the category of calories you need. A lot of it has to do with mindful eating and being really aware of when you're actually hungry and when you're actually full, stuff like that. Other people are more structured and they want a very, you know, strict kind of meal plan. Tell me how many servings from each food group am I supposed to eat at every meal? And show me 3 weeks worth of examples. There's those people too, which is okay, you know. Some people just need more structure, other people want a little more flexibility. So, and some of it depends on too, your medical situation. For example, somebody who has diabetes, we may need a little bit more structure to keep blood sugar under control. Whereas somebody who doesn't, you know, can be a little bit more flexible. Other questions? Comments?
Helpful just to eat out of a smaller plate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like a bread plate or something.
Yep.
And another tip to go along with that one is I use the toddler utensils at the house.
The toddler utensils.
oh, I love it.
Next time you're at Baskin Robbins, get one of those little
Yeah, the little
spoons
spoons.
and keep it, and that's how you know.
Oh, no.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Not that bad. But it is true. You know, if you think about it, let's say we've got, this is food, okay? You put that on a little plate, it looks like a lot, right? You put it on a big plate, you're like, I need to fill this up more. Okay, so use your salad plates, things like that, or the dessert plate.
Once you start, it's not that hard to continue to use that plate. It's
Yeah.
just that my husband like, why do you use this little bitty plate? I said, that's what I enjoy eating out of.
Uh-huh.
When he fixed my plate, he'll get the big plate, so that's
Yeah.
just great to put it in the little plate.
Yeah.
Because I can control it a whole lot better in the smaller plate.
Well, and it seems like you have a full
Yeah.
meal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we do the same thing at our house too. We hardly ever even use our dinner plate. We use those as platters, you know, to put stuff on. So, anybody else?
How much of it would you say is mental versus more of the physical? You know, I'm physically going to get this bad thing versus
Like
up
the
here.
mental.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, it really is a combination of both.
Right.
You know, the mental part is challenging. It is. That's why I think it's so important to. You've got to set so many other things up in your life to support what you're trying to do, because your brain tries to talk you out of it, right? And you know, making sure your environment is set up. You know, you're not the cravings for certain things or the desire to eat certain stuff. I'm not sure that it ever fully goes away, right? It's learning how to manage it. Like nobody. Now, that said, a lot of it is habit change too, so it kind of depends. Because sometimes it's not that we love a food so much, it's just we're in the habit of always having that. And once you're kind of, I find that with a lot of people who finally reduce the amount of sugar, they feel like they've got to have sugar, you know, or something sweet. Y'all, you know what I'm talking about? Like, I just need a little something sweet after
Right.
lunch or dinner or whatever. And once you stop that habit, and you actually acclimate, like it becomes normal for you, then it's okay. Same thing happens a lot of times with, people will tell me, I can't drink water. It has no taste. Because they're used to drinking Diet Coke, which is so sweet, okay? And it's not so much that their body has to have the Diet Coke, right? It's just that your habit, what you're used to, is the sweetness. And once your taste buds acclimate a little bit, and you get on to water, then they come back and go, oh my gosh, I had a Diet Coke the other day. It was so sweet. I don't know how I did that for all those years, you know? So some of it's habit change and adjustment, but the mental part is hard. That's why you need a lot of support. Create a supportive environment with your food environment, as well as accountability and support from friends, family, coworkers, whoever, dietitians, doctors. Sleep, get your sleep straight, your stress straight, your some kind of movement, you know, all those things. There's a lot of factors. Now, I hope that's not coming across like, oh my gosh, she just turned this task into like a 50 bulleted point to-do list just to start a weight loss program.
That's a plan. If it is a, bulleted list.
Right, exactly.
Work your way down.
Anybody else? So I hope you found this to be helpful and encouraging and give you kind of a new perspective on some things to consider. Next week we're going to be talking about the Mediterranean diet for health. And then on the last Wednesday, it's we're going to be talking about healthier sweet treats, things like that. So some non-junky desserts and things like that. Okay? And if you guys have any other ideas for Wellness Wednesdays moving forward, we're trying to kind of get the schedule and stuff set up for FY19. So thank you for coming. See you next time.